And we're live. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Disorder in the Court, day 2 of the Rust ALEC Baldwin trial. They've had the camera on in the courtroom for, I don't know, a good 15, 20 minutes now, but they haven't gotten started yet. It kind of looks like they've gotten started, but they haven't. The jury is not in the room yet. They've been just kind of hanging out, getting things started. I've been doing a little research on the Baldwin family. Apparently, the woman, while we're looking at it, the woman sitting just over Baldwin's right shoulder with the glasses on, the white hair, that's his sister. There's a news article in People magazine. It's kind of funny to see what different news outlets focus on. People magazine focused on, Alec Baldwin's sister was crying. Well, I think a few people were crying, but welcome in, and welcome to membership, Terry Bass. Welcome to Sidebar, and thank you for joining. So, yep, this is the state of things. It's just been on mute while they get some stuff together. It looks like there might be some sort of technical issue or detail that they're grappling with, trying to figure out how to show exhibits to both the audience and the jury and the witness. We still have, it appears that we still have the crime scene technician or the evidence technician on stand. Her name is, let's see. Her name is Melissa Popple. And it is time for her cross-examination. As you may recall from yesterday, they left off with her direct examination, and it appeared very much like she was, she being the prosecutor, Carrie Morrissey, was kind of stretching things out to make sure that the day ended with her witness. The day ended with the witness being her witness. There's also a lawyer in there sitting at the prosecution table who I recognize from other cases. It's possible that I recognize her from the Hannah Gutierrez case. I just recognize her. She has gotten up and done some argument, and she's very competent, very well spoken. I remember that. That's, I think, maybe one of the reasons I remember her face. But we would love for court to get started any moment now. If you recall from yesterday, by my count, we had 4 witnesses, starting out with the very nervous sort of rookie officer, first responder, Nicholas Lafleur. And, that's typical for them to start out with the officer who shows up first so that they can show the body cam and show what was going on scene, the moment that they found, that first responders arrived and the chaos. This witness, good morning, Terry Bass. Thank you for becoming a member. Welcome to Sidebar. The defense tried to insinuate that the first witness, Nicholas LaFleur, was coached, and it was a rough first witness, because, as you recall, there were opening arguments, and both sides did, a really good job on their opening arguments. Both sides did a solid job, and I was pretty impressed with Alec Spiro's opening statements for the defense. And I think he had the courtroom, pretty much enwrapped in his opening statements. And then things started to just kind of fall down for him during evidence, in just the, minute details, the types of things that lawyers usually get, practicing lawyers who are in the court all the time, they get a muscle memory for how to introduce evidence, what hearsay is, what to object for, what not to object for, just general trial strategy. And I get the sense, yes, hello, Johnny. I actually woke up about an hour ago, but yeah, my voice is still sounding like I just woke up. But, it just seems to me like Alex's, at least Spyro. I don't know about the other lawyer because I haven't seen him. Oh, hey, Jay Friday, nice to see you. So what I was just talking about was the opening statements yesterday and the performances of the lawyers, and Alec has a really, really good, team of lawyers, but I don't think they're super duper comfortable in the courtroom, and it showed yesterday. I think they're real comfortable getting up and giving, one-way arguments, when they're just the ones up and giving arguments. They're very good about that. They know the law, but yeah, I was noticing Steven's glasses they're like that retro hip style, or like kind of like retro nerd. So now I'm not sure
More
what.
than a bathroom break or whatever, and you just need to be patient. We're trying to move the trial along, okay? So, thank you. All right, and I'm sorry, uh, this probably isn't the most appropriate time,
Uh-oh.
but, media in the war room, or whatever we call it, one more cup, and everybody is not allowed to bring any liquids of any kind whatsoever.
Uh-oh.
My staff and our county people are not going to be picking up trash that you all could pick up.
Oh.
Okay, and that also means downstairs in the jury assembly room. So one more cup, one more water. Let's just have some manners on picking up after ourselves, okay?
Oh,
All right,
media.
sorry, I had to bring that up right now.
Clean up after yourselves. Come on, you know better.
Yes, she's still under oath. Is that
I'm
okay,
not
or do you want me to?
surprised.
That's fine.
All right,
May I proceed?
yes.
Good morning, Investigator Pop.
Good morning.
So just to remind you, this is the investigator, the
All right, why don't we
evidence
look at these now?
mission, basically. And this will be her cross-examination. Let's see if Mr. Spyro has gotten into a little bit more into the groove. Get into the groove now, boy. You got to prove you can be a trial lawyer. The judge has a gift of telling off people like they're little boys and girls. I know. It's true. I remember that from the Hannah Gutierrez trial. She comes off a lot like a school principal, kind of like a school principal. who's just like, hey, we need to keep things going on time. Get to your classrooms. Don't leave dirty cups around. We got to keep this moving. Hope you've been well, Jay Friday. And I'm glad you found me because I don't know if I came up on your recommendations or you proactively looked for me, but I'm most certain I've been shadow banned. And I'm not saying that to complain. I'm saying that to explain to people because it changes a little bit of the way I communicate on YouTube. I'm I'm not as careful about what I say about YouTube because they've shadow banned me, and I don't care as much anymore about what they hear me say about them because I think that they're incredibly corrosive for our world, including the rest of the internet. But that's besides the point. But also, I know that I know that I get peeped by other true crime creators, and
Okay, good morning
especially on
again.
my other channel.
So we
I'll
saw
pick this up
a
later.
lot of pictures yesterday and heard about some search warrants that were conducted that you were present for. And I'd like to sort of divide what we do this morning into sort of two categories, the firearm and the ammunition. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. As to the firearm, I think where you left off yesterday is ultimately that firearm was destroyed in the test pit. Fair?
Not destroyed, but broken.
Yeah, the word broken, that I think I heard you use yesterday, it's fair to say that the firearm can't be put back in the original condition that it was in at the time of the incident. Is that fair?
I believe it could be put back together with replaced parts. But as far as, in my terms, destroyed meaning no longer in existence, it is not the case.
Right. No, of course. The gun and its broken parts still exist, right?
Yes.
But as being part of the investigation and entrusted with the evidence in this case, the gun will never be in exactly the same condition that it was in on October 21st. Fair?
Yes.
Then I want to talk to you now about the ammunition piece of this. And the investigation into the source of the lethal bullet in this case led you to executing a search warrant at Seth Kenny's prop house, right?
Yes.
And you knew that he had provided star-line brass, silver ammunition to the set, correct?
Yes.
What you were investigating at that time was whether it was star-line brass, silver, and only dummies, or if it was star-line brass, silver, and he also had live ammunition at his prop house, correct?
Yes.
And you did know that Seth Kenny kept live ammunition at his prop house, correct?
I believe at that time we were looking for live ammunition. Yes.
Right, but you were aware of whether you found the exact correct live ammunition that matched perfectly the live ammunition on the movie set. You did ultimately recover some live ammunition, and you had probable cause to get a search warrant, right?
Yes.
And did that concern you that at a prop house that's sending out ammunition for movie sets, that there was both live ammunition and dummy rounds?
Yes.
So I want to take a step back for a second. When you go out to collect evidence on a day like October 21st, 2021, you bring with you your Nikon camera, right?
Yes.
You have gloves with you, right?
Yes.
And in a perfect world, you're trying to get to the evidence and the state of the evidence as quickly as possible. Fair?
Yes.
And so you did respond to this scene, and the first item that you collected that ended up broken was the prop gun, right?
Yes.
And when you got there, you knew that someone had touched it without gloves on, right?
Yes.
You knew that when somebody collected it, they didn't take a photo, right?
Yes.
But you did take that into evidence, and that was sort of the first item in this case that you were collecting and entrusted to keep vouchered and maintained for the course of this investigation. Is that fair?
Yes.
And it was a critical piece of evidence. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And so as you continue after that moment into the scene, you're looking for additional evidence. Fair?
Yes.
And physical evidence is critical evidence in an investigation, right?
Yes.
Because, witnesses and their memories can change. Witnesses can say one thing one day and another day, but physical evidence pretty much stays the same,
I'm
right?
just objecting to a compound question.
Physical evidence stays the same, right?
Yes.
And you logged all the evidence you collected in this case?
Yes.
And all the evidence collected by law enforcement in this case was ultimately logged by you?
Yes.
And by logging it, you also make it available for the defense so that we have visibility into what in fact you collected.
Yes.
And one way you figure out as you're going through a scene what evidence is relevant is you can talk to your fellow officers, right?
Yes.
You can talk to witnesses, right?
I do not. As part of I'm not an investigator, I'm a technician. So my concern is with the physical evidence. I don't do any of the interviews.
No, I know you don't do formal interviews, but in this case, you did talk to Seth Kennedy, right? You're not forbidden to speak to somebody who's at a scene.
No, I do believe we had some casual conversations.
Good morning,
yes.
Cinnamon Girl.
Well, but there are times where a witness could say in your presence, hey, that glove is very important. And they would say it to you and Corporal Hancock, and you
I
would know.
object to the hypothetical.
Overruled.
As I was saying, you and Corporal Hancock could be at a scene, and somebody could say, hey, that glove was used. And you, as a technician, would say, okay, that witness is pointing out that glove, that could be important. I'm going to note that, and once I confer with Corporal Hancock, potentially take that into custody, to take an inventory.
Yes, that's something that could happen, yes.
And the other thing that you do is, and you talked about this a little bit on your direct, which is you can learn information and decide what to forensically test. Fair?
Yes.
So in this case, for example, Mr. Baldwin's clothes had red on them, and you tested it for blood, right?
Yes.
And it turned out it was movie set blood, right?
Yes.
Meaning it wasn't actually blood.
Correct.
Right? So as you continue through the scene, you get to the prop cart, and you find the shell casing. And I thought this was on just a moment ago.
All right, Joe, come on. We need to fix something.
Nothing like technology to break the flow, to break your flow. He's like, oh my God, my flow.
Yeah, this is that.
The technology issues, they just crack me up, you guys. Because it's so not only preventable but frustrating.
This is the way.
And it completely breaks up the
It was up there. It was up there that you had a problem.
because the lawyers, they're
And
like,
I'm
I'm on a
putting
roll, I'm on a
State's
roll.
Exhibit 29.
Heck.
I'm just a minute, Mr. Spiro. I'm wondering if
Oh.
you're trying to figure this out right
Let it be true, boy. You got to prove you're a good lawyer. Whether your lawyer costs $100 or 10, they still have tech. Yes, that's one of the reasons I love the courtroom. Right? Theoretically, it neutralizes everything. It evens the playing field. Everybody's supposed to be playing, with the same rules. There's no question about it. There's a judge to, serve, balls and strikes, call balls and strikes. So and and the real world includes technology and all of its
Thank you
frustration.
very much. Thank you both.
So the technology even neutralizes
And I'm showing you Exhibit 29,
the players.
and in a moment I'll show you Exhibit 28. And this is the shell casing that you recovered in this case that housed the lethal projectile, correct?
Yes.
And so, and in fact, you were able to then recover the actual bullet piece of the ammunition because you learned from Mr. Baldwin that it was at the hospital with Mr. Souza, right?
Yes.
And so you were then able to go to the hospital, and we heard from that officer, and collect the other piece of the ammunition, correct?
Yes.
And that's an example, right, of learning something from a witness and making a decision based on it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And as to the prop gun, because you learned from Mr. Baldwin that he just manipulated the hammer, you didn't test the trigger of the firearm, correct?
I'm sorry. You're asking if I myself tested the.
Trigger, yeah.
I'm not qualified to do that, so it was not completed by myself.
Well, fair to say that because you learned that from Mr. Baldwin, it impacted the way that you evaluated the evidence in this
I
case.
object to the form of question. Can we approach?
Did you hear how he said little bullet piece? So, and then you went and got that little bullet piece. You can tell he's a man not comfortable with gun terminology. I don't know if he meant projectile. I've just never heard anyone call in a courtroom
You
a little bullet piece.
spoke to Mr. Baldwin at the scene, correct?
Briefly, yes.
Okay. And he informed you that he just manipulated the hammer and that impacted your future testing, correct?
I don't recall what he exactly stated on the scene.
Okay. Well, let me just approach you for a moment.
Counsel, I'll need a copy.
Sure. We'll provide you a copy.
Before you approach the witness.
We're also going to need, while they're looking for that, why don't we approach?
Oh boy. Oh boy. So I just watched, I'll show this during the break. I just watched the, little promo teaser for the We Are the Baldwins, their reality show. I've never seen anything more forced, thrown together. Not the video itself, but just the idea of having a reality show right now for this family is, as Piers Morgan said yesterday, I think among the most hypocritical, cognitively dissonant things I've ever seen in the world, because
Page in line, please.
he's usually so anti publicity. I also think it's a rather desperate measure. Again, I just don't think that even if he's found guilty and he humbly accepts the verdict. Yes, I think so, Terry Bass. Laria.
Page in line, counsel.
Yep.
Apparently she's quite a character. I haven't followed her as much.
Page 3, lines 9 through 11. And I'm showing the witness. Does this, and as you can see from up here, this is a lapel camera from 1021, a lapel recording from And do you see this answer here?
Yes, I see it.
And so,
Yeah.
does that refresh your recollection that Mr. Baldwin told you that he cocked the gun?
I don't recall that conversation.
Okay. But you don't dispute that it happened?
No, I don't dispute it. I just don't recall it.
So did, but when you made the request,
Objection, let's approach.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Not a smooth start. And, I think if the prosecution is mean-spirited, they will start to take advantage of the fact that this kid just doesn't know his way around a courtroom. And she's going to start making him covertly look like an idiot. Oh, he can't ask that way. He can't. That's the wrong form of the question. She has all kinds of opportunity to throw him off because he's clearly not comfortable in that space. Terry says, I can't wait because he can pose as much as he wants in that show as whatever character he chooses, but the kids never lie, never. I know. Well, and the kids, I'll show the trailer during a break. The kids, I love kids. So you're probably never going to hear me say a bad thing about a kid, any kid. I don't care who they are. I love kids. I just love them. And so the thing that bothers me the most is that basically these two are exploiting their kids to get sympathy. They're basically laundering their reputations through their cute kids. Because the whole premise of the idea is, oh my God, this older, it's a little bit similar to the Osbournes, except they're really fighting at the bench. It's a little similar to the Osbournes, the older famous guy with a crazy household. But the crazy household in this situation is 7 children, because his eighth, he has 7 with Hilaria. And then he has Kim, the one with Kim Basinger. So I hope they're not about to get orphaned. But anyway, I feel bad for them, for the kids, because they're basically being laundered. The actor is using his kids to launder his reputation. And we've all seen how these, parenting channels can be to kids. I honestly think that these scripted reality shows are worse because there's a higher demand for more wacky and outlandish drama. There's more staged scenarios. All right, they're back.
just to go back to the spent shell casing for a moment, was the spent shell casing collected from inside of the church or on the cart?
On the cart.
And another question is, do you know if Mr. Baldwin's fingerprints or DNA were on the trigger of the firearm?
I do not know those results off the top of my head.
Okay. Is there a better witness that may come in to tell the jury that?
Yes.
Okay. And, you were interacting, as we were left off, with Mr. Baldwin at the scene and spoke to him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And after speaking to him, did you in fact test
Exactly,
the
Salma
hammer
Kamala.
of the, did you in fact request to test the hammer of the firearm for prints and DNA?
Same objection. That doesn't lay the foundation. It has to go to why she did what she did.
It's the first question, and then I'll ask why she did or didn't.
Overruled.
Did you, after speaking to Mr. Baldwin, did you then test the hammer of the gun for DNA or fingerprints, or request that it be done?
The request that was made was after a conversation with the lab, which essentially was asking them what assistance they could provide. I believe the request was made for latents and DNA. I don't recall the specifics of what on the item they were going to specifically test. I don't know their requirements or standards when they receive a firearm. Most labs would do the testing on the entirety of the gun, but they might break it down further and do just the trigger, just the hammer, just the rough areas. I'm not certain. That's a question for their lab.
Right, but I'm just asking you, Investigator Papa, when you made the request, did you specify, given what we've learned now, we really want you to check the hammer specifically? Did you make that request?
I don't recall specifically requesting that.
And when you got to the prop cart, you could not tell from looking at it whether or not anybody had altered or moved any of the evidence, correct?
Correct.
And if somebody did, that would be a pretty serious problem in a case like this, wouldn't it?
It would be a problem in any case, yes.
Did you ever interview or review any interviews of Sarah Zachary?
No.
But one thing that you did know at this time for certain is that you were looking for Starline brass silver .45 ammunition, correct?
At that time, no, we did not know that that's what we were looking for.
When did you learn that?
That was learned later on once realizing that all of our suspected live rounds were Starline brass with a silver primer.
So all of the live rounds at the movie set were Starline brass, nickel primer, live, right?
Yes.
And this idea came up early in the investigation that what if somebody sabotaged the set and put those live rounds there? Do you recall that?
Yes.
And that was quickly dismissed in this case as not something that law enforcement thought to be realistic. Fair?
Yes.
But you also needed to investigate whether somebody from outside of the Rust set was responsible for injecting these live ammunition into the Rust set. Fair?
Yes.
And so you continue to investigate that as this case proceeds, and you executed search warrants, correct?
Not myself personally investigating it, but I believe that was something that was being investigated.
So, we looked at, and I'm just going to show you Defense A1. And what's this a picture of?
These were some of the rounds that were located loose on top of the cart.
And these live rounds being loose on top of the cart, you don't know whether those live rounds were there at the time of the incident, right?
Correct.
And again, these were all Starline brass, nickel primer, live, correct?
Yes.
And you were also not certain at times when you would collect rounds whether or not they were live or dummies.
Correct.
Some rounds you submitted to the FBI to process to figure that out.
Yes.
And if we could look at State's Exhibit 27, can you tell me what that is?
This is a photograph of the silver primers on the 2 rounds that were later discovered to be live that were on the top of the cart.
And so in this box you then collect, which is Defense A2, right? What was your understanding of this box?
My understanding was this was the box handed to Lieutenant Benavidez that was being pulled from at the time to load the firearm. I was then placed in his unit and later collected by myself.
And when you looked inside of that box, State's Exhibit 17, what did you find?
These were the rounds inside of the box.
And can you tell the jury the significance of that round?
Yes, this round with the silver primer was a live round.
But you don't know whether somebody was rifling through this box and just missed one, do you?
No.
And you also showed the jury that these Starline brass nickel live rounds were found in other places on the set, right? This is State's Exhibit 16.
Yes.
And what is this?
This is a close-up of one of the gun holsters that has a live round in it.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 15.
This is a close-up of the gun holster that was belonging to Mr. Baldwin that has a live round in it.
And was then 15, this is 15. Was 16 the one that was the other actor, Jason Eccles?
Yes.
Hey, Patricia.
Okay. And so Mr. Eccles, another actor on the set, turns out that he, as he acted, as he performed, had a live bullet in his bandolier, correct?
Yes.
And you have no reason to think Mr. Eccles had any idea that was there, right?
Correct.
Your working theory, as you evaluated the ammunition and looked at the similarity between the Starline nickel live and the Starline nickel dummies, is that they could have been easily commingled. Fair?
Yes.
In other words, somebody could have mistaken one for the other, right?
Yes.
And so when you conduct then a search warrant on the church, you find additional evidence, right?
Yes.
And you talked about search warrants in your direct examination, but I just want to orient the jury a little bit to what that is. A search warrant is where you go to a court and you swear out a warrant, and the warrant tells you what you can search for inside of a dwelling or a location, right?
Yes.
And you tell the court what information you have and what you'd like to look for. Fair enough?
Yes.
And unlike somebody sort of, walking into the precinct and voluntarily giving you evidence,
One
one of the things about a search warrant is you don't have to tell the person you're coming before you go, right?
Yes.
So as you're going into execute the search warrant on the church, and the warrants in this case, you did discuss that with Corporal Hancock, correct?
Yes, I believe we had some brief conversations about the search warrants.
And the warrant for the church, it didn't indicate that if there was any specific crime you were looking for. Is that fair?
I don't recall.
And so when you went inside of the church, you were looking for evidence, right?
Yes.
And you remember, as you ended your direct examination yesterday, Ms. Morrissey, the prosecutor, said, you keep all of this evidence so that if anybody wants to bring any evidence, you have it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things you found in the church was the shot list for the dead, right?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall collecting paperwork inside the church?
Yes.
Okay. And
Your Honor, I've already indicated to Mr. Spiro that I object to some of these, so we can approach now. I wish we had dealt with it previously.
Here we go again.
no, I think I can just lay it and introduce it.
Well, she said she objected.
Interrupting the flow. Yeah, like I said, YouTube's never been super great about doing notifications. I mean, they've always been very inconsistent, but unfortunately, if you are a fan of my channel, you're probably going to have to look for me. I mean, that's just the way it is. I don't know what else there's really no workaround for it. It's just the way it is. And it's okay. Mr. Baldwin is rather animated right now. We're still having look how tense it is at the bench there. Did he just snap his fingers to get someone's attention? Yeah, he did. He snapped his fingers to get this guy's attention. And I don't think that's one of his people. I think that might be his court handler today or something. I don't know. But he's trying to make things happen. Alec's like, okay, I'm a powerful man. I can make things happen. There's something wrong here. Can you go over there and make something happen? He's not going to, his patience is not going to survive all of these interruptions. I can tell. It's making him very, very nervous. Waiter, waiter. There's no water in my cup. Keep the water filled to at least 3/4 at all times. Look at him right now. He looks incredibly irritated. And we can't hear what's going on in the courtroom right now. So they're overhearing whatever and Steven's trying to listen to his man, this is thank you again. Thank you, Solo, for gifting the 1 membership. To the lucky person who gets that membership, please say thank you to Solo. What's an AED? Is that a defibrillator? Are you talking about a defibrillator? Is that an AED? I don't know what an AED is. But yeah, they're looking. Yeah, Patricia. Well, I'm sorry about that. I might do some research into whether there's some sort of oh, you mean IE? I think you might mean IED. But anyway, are my notifications for my other channel, Checkmate Humanity, better for you, Patricia? Because interestingly, that's the one, Checkmate Humanity is where I've been, what I believe is the channel that led to my shadow banning, because I'm not as critical. Well, I guess that's actually not true. This channel has been, oh, you meant, yeah, IED is the explosive device. Oh, it's worse on my other channel. Okay, that's what I figured. Just so you know you all know what I'm talking about. I have 2 channels here. The one we're on right now, Checkmate Humanity. On both channels, I have been very, very critical of YouTube and the internet. Oh, I'm glad you did, Vanilla. Very interesting. But so I've been very, very critical of YouTube, and I used to work at Google, and I was in a documentary that really pissed them off, a Netflix documentary that really did not help their business situation. So I don't feel that YouTube is threatened by me. I just think it's extremely easy for them to lower my voice without me knowing and without it being easy to see. I've lived many lives, Terry Bass. I mean, I'm an old lady. That's so weird, Patricia. Yeah, I'm an old lady. I've lived I think maybe when you've been here recent, I don't know. I think it's different for different people. I don't know what it is. Let's see, and that's always been one of my criticisms of YouTube and just social media in general, but specifically YouTube is there's no rhyme or reason to when a notification goes out, when it doesn't go out. It's so inconsistent, and they are completely non-transparent about how any of that works, how the algorithm works. I mean, we know generally how the algorithm works. They won't tell us exactly what goes into it. She's his hill area. Ilaria. So anyway, I tell people about this just so they understand, that now the reason I use YouTube is more to connect with you all and the people and watch trials with you.
Please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court.
All right, jury.
Wait, did they just say they're taking a break?
Please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court.
Oh man. I wonder what's going on. I gotta see. It is too early to be taking a break. They must have some pretty irreconcilable differences going on there. And they're going to the logo, but why? Is the judge Hannah's mom? I mean, are they gonna?
Hey there, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch our
Jesse
coverage
Weber,
of the
you're a
ALEC Baldwin
good-looking guy,
trial.
but
Look,
we
it's
don't need to
cases
hear
like
from
this.
you right now. This is weird. I'm gonna try to look and see if there's any commentary from other channels that can explain this. I'll bet you anything. Let me see here. One moment, please. Nope, I just took a little trip around the internet and nobody really has much of an explanation for what's going on here. Is Solo. The reason, okay, hold please. The reason people get second channels is because what happens is if you start broadcasting, if you start a channel on a certain topic, the algorithm wants you to stay in that general topical zone, right? If you start but if you want to start to talk about a new topic, and you try to put it on that same channel, you won't it won't get anywhere because it thinks that you're a channel talking about a specific topic. It's a very, very algorithm. The algorithm plays a much bigger role in the lives of creators than you might think, because the algorithm wants you to be pigeonholed in a certain topic area. So I'm pretty much pigeonholed into true crime and commentary, right? Like true crime commentary. And my other channel is pigeonholed into tragedy pimp criticism, basically. Even though I covered Amber Heard and have over 300,000 views on a video about Amber Heard, and tried to do other topics on that channel, it was still trained a little bit by me and a little bit by what the algorithm did, to think that I'm here to just sit here and criticize true crime tragedy pimps. So if I tried to post a video about another topic that's outside of that field, not only would it not get any views, but also it would water down the algorithm on that channel. So that's one reason people create second channels or different channels. Okay. This is now my court streaming channel, which is more into true crime. And my other channel, now that I've been shadow banned, I don't care as much about how the algorithm is going to treat my content. I'm going to be more open about it. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Another reason people create second channels is because, especially in like drama type communities, is because there's a big tendency in drama communities to use the copyright strike system to try to take channels down. And so one way to safeguard yourself is to create another channel where you can go if your channel gets taken down for one way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, with the way the copyright system works and how inconsistent it is and how abusive other people can be about the copyright system, they could really do some damage to your channel if they wanted to, if they knew what they were doing. So Solo says, like, what would happen to this stream if you hashtag Sebastian Rogers out of nowhere? Well, probably nothing, Solo, because I don't think my hashtags get activated because I'm shadow banned. So, but let's say I'm not shadow banned, okay? Let's say I'm not shadow banned. And I were to stick a Sebastian Rogers hashtag on this stream and start talking about Sebastian Rogers, I would probably start getting a lot more views. And that is a very, very sad thing, because there's nothing new to talk about with Sebastian Rogers. Patricia says, AI can only work with what it previously knows. Do stereotyping plays its part, but there's one thing AI can't learn, and that's curiosity. Well, Patricia, you'd be surprised. So the thing about artificial intelligence is that it takes what it learned from us, and then it continues to learn from itself based on what it learned from us. That is scary to me, because we as human beings are, especially the way we act on the internet, is insane. It's insane. So it is basically picking up, taking a pool, picking up pools of people from different groups and creating AI around their personalities and their preferences and their behavior patterns and their ways of doing things, as if that's normal and as if it's what we want to continue to aspire to do. It's not. We don't want our biggest vulnerabilities to be exploited by an AI that improves upon the ability to let me take an example. Let's say let's say that there's a group of people who are incredibly manipulative, and the algorithm takes that algorithmic group and says, we're going to just make it, we like manipulation too, because we like to manipulate people to stay on the platform longer. So we're going to take the most, the part of your personality that most helps us, and we're going to match them together. And I'm not describing this as well as I wanted to as I started this out, but what I'm trying to say is the AI learns from itself based on what there's anonymous Lucy. I'm glad you're here. Continuing to learn based on prior inputs is the underlying premise of machine learning, right? That's why it's so scary to people, is because it learns from itself. It takes our baseline and then keeps learning based on that baseline. Hi, it's good to see you, Anonymous. Johnny says, yesterday I saw an AI drawn Voldemort with 6 fingers on one hand and 4 fingers on the other. I concluded humanity has a bit more time before AI enslaves us. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is that there are many, many facets of AI. Artificial intelligence has been in our lives in the background on the internet for decades already. It's already been there, but now people are just starting to see, because there are apps now developed on top of artificial intelligence that specifically tap into and use the artificial intelligence for human productivity or whatever. It's become a human interface. Before, it was a platform interface. It was an interface between engineers and platforms, and it was all behind the scenes. But here now, humans are directly interacting with AI to create productivity, and it's there's so much content out there talking about why this is scary and why the many dangers that this presents to humanity. And they're just they're too hastily jumping into this futuristic idea of AI helping us, when they haven't even figured out how to solve the issues that AI has already created. You have 0 shot, 1 shot, and multiple shot learning, which is what drives how exactly it learns. You must know more about how exactly they get, because I'm not super adept on the actual technology. I just know how to describe generally how it works and what's happening to us. I would never, ever presume to sit on a panel as an AI expert, more like an AI, like a behavior expert or internet behavior expert. They already do that, Johnny. Johnny, that's been going on. You're saying, I bet my bottom dollar soon will have armies of vigilantes sitting in mom's basements teaching AI that elephants have 3 heads and 2 and 2 is 5. That's been happening. But I'm not trying. I'm not I know my tone is a little bit harsh. I'm angry about that. I'm angry that that's already happening and people don't know. You're so silly. But I'm gonna go look at okay. Yeah, so Anonymous, I used to work with all those people, but I don't work with them anymore. So I don't have as much access to, daily conversations. Um, I'm gonna look and see if there's any updates. Okay, actually, here, we're gonna look at this. I want to show this is something I've been wanting to show you. Is this it? Well, first of all, here's the family. I'm going to make this bigger. Here's the Baldwin family after court yesterday, trying to look normal. Everybody look. Come on, look normal. Oh, it's just another day strolling in Santa Fe. Don't look at the cameras. I mean, these are from other times. But also here's the trailer for their show, which is hold on.
Older than you, and you already said I was short.
Hi, I'm ALEC BALDWIN.
And I'm Ilaria Baldwin, and we have an announcement. Let me do it again, sorry. Hi, I'm Ilaria Baldwin.
And I'm ALEC BALDWin.
And we have an announcement to make.
Good God, no.
No, definitely not. We're done having kids. Bye.
Sit down.
This is about our show.
We're inviting you into our home to experience the ups and downs, the good, the bad, the wild, and the crazy. Home is the place we love to be most. You say we are the Baldwins.
No, we are the Baldwins. We all gotta say it.
Here we are. 1, 2, 3. We are the Baldwins.
Oh my God. Yeah, the stroller did look like a walker, right? I mean, is this a family desperate to seem normal and fun and like they're happy every day and just things are just all good in the hood? Yeah, damage control detected, right? I mean, like I said, I love kids, but and for that reason, it really bothers me to use your kids to launder your reputation, especially when you have been basically in a fist fight with the public for your entire career about being public.
Stand up straight. Because otherwise I'm gonna look like I'm taller than you, and you already said I was short.
Hi, I'm ALEC Baldwin.
And I'm Ilaria Baldwin, and we have an announcement. Let me do it again, sorry. Hi, I'm Ilaria Baldwin.
And I'm ALEC Baldwin.
And we have an announcement to make.
Good God, no.
No, definitely not. We're done having kids. Bye.
Sit down.
This is about our show.
We're inviting you into our home to experience the ups and downs, the good, the bad, the wild, and the crazy.
Oh,
Did you think money would make you happier?
oh my gosh, that was a mistake.
Yes, I think everybody does.
And now that you've
I don't like these shorts because they do that. You
Could you faster stand up straight?
take one
Because otherwise I'm gonna look like I'm
slides on
taller
the
than you.
screen and it's over. Anyway. I know. Well, Patricia, she said it at the beginning. Ilaria. I know. And where's her accent? Yeah. And where are they going to include the nannies? The the babysitters, the people, the people who are actually doing the work for these kids, the ones who are actually doing all the day-to-day cleanup of these children's. Yeah, are they going to cover the down of the trial? Well, I would assume that they have their camera crew following them around. Are they non-genetic parents? I don't know. I don't know anything about that, but anyway, let's see if they're back. I don't even know where they went in the first place. Let's see what they're saying on Law and Crime here.
It was on both the state and the defense's witness lists. So we always expected her to testify at some point for somebody. There was an issue about her possibly being granted immunity. The judge said pre-trial that it appeared she was not willing to cooperate, so she wasn't going to grant that immunity. But something has obviously changed, because we're hearing that from
Okay,
her
good to see
lawyer
you,
that
Anonymous.
she is possibly going to be called to testify tomorrow morning. But again, things seem to be moving slowly here.
Oh, I
so
see
we'll
what you
if
mean,
that
Terry.
changes.
Sorry about that.
And for our viewers just joining us, we want to get them up to speed here. What were some of the key highlights, Anjanette, in the testimony the jury heard this morning?
There was
really just cross-examination
There
of
wasn't.
that evidence technician, Marissa Popel. And she was talking about and answering questions about the search warrant at the prop house. And she was asked whether or not that concerned her, that there were live rounds found at the prop house. And she said that was a concern to her. And then there were questions about the testing of the trigger, which the evidence technician said she's not qualified to do that. Questions about possibly testing the hammer. She's not qualified to do that either. So those are testing, that's testing that would have taken place and been ordered to be done by the FBI or another crime lab. But really the FBI is the entity that did the testing in this case.
All right. Well, Anjanette, thank you so much for your insight and analysis. We look forward to hearing from you more throughout the day. Of course, she'll be there throughout the trial in New Mexico. Anjanette, we'll see you in a little bit. And for us, we're going to take a quick break here on Law and Crime. But when we come back, our focus is on that ALEC Baldwin trial. We'll be right back.
And they are not back. They are not back yet. It should be very interesting to see what happens. To see what caused this like abrupt, longer break. Is it more having to deal with this evidence issue that was brought up in pretrial motions last week? But there's one other thing I wanted to show you, and that is, and I know Stacy, I don't know if Stacy's listening in, but I know she was really interested in hearing this. This is.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, sorry.
I'm good. I had a pretty good day.
This is one of the jail calls between Hannah Gutierrez and her mother. I wonder if there's some fistfights going on too. I don't know. Please remember to hit the like button, by the way. Please remember. Touch that thumb for a little bit of algorithmic support. So anyway, let's listen to Hannah Gutierrez in her jail calls. When you listen to this, tell me if you hear any remorse. Tell me what you hear.
I didn't have a mental breakdown or cry once. Good, honey. That's good. I'm glad to hear. I'm good. I had a pretty good day. I didn't have a mental breakdown or cry once.
So she starts out her call with her mom. So basically what you're hearing right at the gate is that today is one of the days where she didn't have a mental breakdown or cry once. Okay.
Good, honey. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I'm so proud of you too. You are really handling this like an adult.
Like the mental health people are gone for the weekend, so I'm glad I'm good.
Oh.
So mom is sitting there going like, I'm proud of you for being an adult. Wow. She's something like, I don't know, 26 years old, 27 years old at this point. I don't remember. She was like 24 for the incident. So definitely a very, very, very young woman, but still old enough to be past the time where she has to be praised for behaving like an adult. That's just the expectation. That is now just the expectation that you act like an adult. And when you don't act like an adult, that's against the expectation. See what I'm saying? Because you are now an adult.
Oh, they go home on the weekend, huh?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, that's too bad. Because I'm sure that would help me too, you know.
Hey, darling,
No,
Valentine.
it's okay.
Handle it. Yeah, so you talked to Sean earlier, huh?
Yeah, I called Sean. He's out camping. Of course, his
Yeah, I'm
family's
pretty
going
sure
camping and hitting all of their off-roading vehicles while I'm in the clank. Of course.
So help me, huh?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, that's too bad. Because I'm sure that would help me too, you know.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Handle it. Yeah, so you talked to Sean earlier, huh?
Yeah, I called Sean. He's out camping. Of course, his family's going camping and hitting all of their off-roading vehicles while I'm in the clank.
Oh, yeah. That's okay, honey. You know, you be out there. No time, you know.
Yeah,
No time.
Oh, I'm in jail. She's in jail for just 18 months. And you would think that she's been locked up for life. And you know, it is so terrible that her boyfriend, Sean, or whoever, is now out there just living his life with their off-road vehicles while she's in the clink. So everybody else in her life, I guess, is supposed to be just hunkering down and emulating jail-like conditions with her because and what you're just basically hearing here is complete lack of accountability. You know, there's some people in jail where you can tell they're like, yeah, well, I'm here, so let's just, you know, get on with talking about what's going on in your life, what's going on in my life, and, you know, not trying to figure out another way to blame it on somebody else to get out of jail. And good luck getting people to exonerate you from this when you've got ALEC Baldwin and his lawyers hammering that this is your fault, right? So you're filing an appeal, Ms. Hannah Gutierrez, while ALEC Baldwin is in trial, literally blaming it all on you, right?
Yeah, you will.
Did you talk to my lawyer?
Dad did, and yeah, he said, "Why didn't we think of that?" And I said, "I don't know, but you know, we need her. We need her here."
Thank God someone, and it might be me, and it might be in here, but like somebody is.
I know, and I just haven't been thinking because my head's detached from my body right now.
You're in distress. Like Jason's a lawyer. He should be way more on top of.
Yeah, you need Dad
But
help
also, I don't think
didn't
you
you?
do that. I think I.
And now she's talking shit about her lawyer. So she's saying Jason's a lawyer. He should be on top of this shit. And so now I think they're talking about the appeal, and you know, doesn't she know that these calls are recorded and he's going to hear this? I mean, he's been very good to her. He did as good as he possibly could under the circumstances, in my estimation.
I did tell him that Dad has leukemia a long time ago, but he probably just didn't remember.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, because we need you to watch him because I can't, you know.
Yeah, and he's getting.
And you're so sweet. You're so sweet to want, you know, to do that for us anyways.
Guess what? So, like, you know, I'm in my pod with all the girls, so I only got to talk to them about, like, what's what in Santa Fe because they're all locals and stuff. And they all told me that Mary is one of the judges to get.
Well, yeah.
I just didn't know.
I've heard that.
I wish I would have heard that, like, months ago when we were deciding if we wanted to switch judges.
So I heard this part. Now they're talking about the judge, and they're basically, and I'm assuming, I don't know the actual date of this particular call, but it sounds like it's not long after I don't know exactly when this is. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know if it's before her trial even. I don't know. Anyway, no, I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm a little blustery about that. But now she's talking about the judge and how it's, Judge Marlowe is a terrible judge to have. And they're talking about how they had an opportunity to switch judges. I don't know what she means by that. I don't know if the court offered that opportunity for them to switch judges, or if they were trying to maneuver and manipulate things so they could change judges. I don't know. But that, I don't know. It was kind of surprising to hear that to me.
And then me, like, you know, she stuck up for me a couple of times, like, in that process, and I was like, oh, I think she'll be fair. You know, I think she seems like a reasonable woman, and all these girls are like, no, she sent me to prison over, like, nothing.
I mean, I wonder if she's, like, has some troubles at home.
See the complete lack of accountability. Hannah doesn't recognize her role in this at all. To her, the judge just willy-nilly threw her in jail because she wanted to, not because there was a guilty verdict, not because there was probable cause, not because, both sides were heard. I don't think anyone has really tried to make a convincing or compelling argument about this particular judge not being fair. She seems like she's being fair to me. Exactly, Patricia.
Home or something, why she's so grouchy and so mean.
I know she's talked about walking her dogs when she gets home. Maybe that's the only people that love her dogs.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah.
Maybe the only people that love the judge are her dogs. What a little baby. What a little whiny 12-year-old brat. My God, you didn't grow out of whatever that thing that happens to us when we're teenagers. You haven't grown out of it.
Maybe so, because she doesn't seem to like anyone, too much.
Yeah. So has Jason made a statement or anything?
He's planning on doing that tomorrow.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. They're going to do. I don't know if they're doing a press conference or if they're just putting a statement out there, but they're doing one or the other. I'm supposed to go over there with them, and they're going to brainstorm and decide which is best and have all the facts and everything,
Yeah, no, I woke up at like 4 a.m. this morning, and I wrote some stuff down, and I was going to have Donna call me tomorrow at 4:30 in the afternoon to kind of like go over it, make it more cohesive, and proofread it in case you wanted to throw any of that in there.
Yeah, sure. But just know that, we're not the only ones on this phone,
I know.
And we have to, address people by their names instead of.
So now mom is reminding her, we're being listened to. We can't be coordinating too much nefarious bullshit on this phone call. And also reminding, think about what we're saying about these people.
You know what I mean? Because she's made you out to be a monster that you're not. And anybody that knows you knows you're not, and knows that you're a good person, and knows that that's not true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's black and white thinking. That's black or white thinking. They're saying that the judge made her out to be some sort of a monster. I didn't see it that way. I think the judge just basically told her, look, girl, this is what you did, and now you're getting the consequences. You did this. These are the things that you did. Those are actions. That's not her basically saying you're a devil, you're evil. It could have been far, far, far worse. I don't think of this girl Hannah as inherently evil and that she's a horrible, horrible, horrible person. I think her actions show that she's a very immature, very entitled, careless person with a lack of empathy who is not taking accountability. But, there are far worse people. There are people who are those things to a far greater degree than this person. So it's not so black and white. You're not going to either be really good and well liked by everybody or really, really bad. You're going to be somewhere in between all the time, especially when you're a public figure. It looks like maybe they're coming back. No, maybe not. Okay, we'll keep playing this.
And so, I mean, they're just making themselves look bad. It's like, when people talk about somebody to make themselves feel better, you know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, like a bully bullies other people to make themselves feel better because they're right, because they're miserable, and also they're probably a jerk themselves, so they want somebody else to feel bad, because they feel bad inside, and they want misery loves company. In other words.
Yeah, I was
And
thinking
that's
that would
bullshit.
be good for like a press release or something like that.
Yes.
I'll try to talk to Jason or Carmela about it tomorrow.
Yeah, but that sounded really, really good to me, honey.
Thanks.
Did.
Yeah, I'll read it to them and let them
Thanks.
see what they can do or what parts they want to take from it. I also wanted to ask you, have you talked to Frankie at all?
Yes.
Okay, is he good?
He's unhappy. He's unhappy with the situation, but he's okay. And, he'll survive. And he's just like telling me to be strong and, that you're going to need me when you get out of there and everything. You're going to need me even in there. But he's telling me I got to get my together because, I have my moments, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, I know. I think all of us deserve at least a few good freakouts from this,
Yeah, I mean, when I heard the verdict, it was like I couldn't control myself, I don't even remember doing what I did.
What did you do?
I got thrown out of the courthouse and just get her out of here, get her out of here. I've been thrown out of bed, and
I remember her mom getting pretty emotional, but I don't remember. I think all that other stuff that she's talking about, saying that they basically threw her out of the courtroom. I don't think that was shown on camera because I don't remember seeing any of that. But usually that happens when they think that there's been an unfair verdict or an unfair, the trial itself is unfair. They're just not accepting any responsibility whatsoever for their role in this. And that's what's going on here. They're like, this is unfair. This is unfair. She shouldn't have to go to jail. Boo. So they think it's basically the end of the world. And she's already served, she's already served a few months into her sentence. If she just, she just hangs in there and sits there and figures herself out. And who knows? I mean, these calls were from a little while back. Maybe she's done that by now, but I don't think so. I highly doubt it.
I told them all to go to hell, basically.
Okay, so what are your impressions of Hannah Gutierrez Reed listening in on these phone calls?
There's another one that called. There's another earlier call. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I played this yet.
Only that, I know how sorry you are about all of this.
People know how sorry and how it's affected you every day of your life. We know that. I don't care if I have to speak.
That the judge is like, you know what, no matter what, it's a loss of life and everything. But it's like, you know, like I've been punished for this for 2 years now, especially with the public, and I'm going to be punished for the rest of my life. Like everybody in the whole world is going to know for the rest of my life. Like,
yeah, I know. And Hannah, not only that, like I know how sorry you are about all of this. People know how sorry and how it's affected you every day of your life. We know that. I don't care if I have to speak up and say something to the judge. I'm going to. I don't even care anymore. I told Jason I'm not going to sit there and be complicit and keep my mouth shut while Carrie sits here and lies and lies and lies.
I know.
It's all for her to get his little 5 minutes of fame.
I was kind of thinking that maybe my parents.
So when they talk about Carrie, they're talking about Carrie Morrissey, the prosecutor. So they're saying that the prosecutor lied and lied and lied. I don't know what specific lies they're talking about, but okay. And when they talk about Jason, they're talking about her lawyer, Jason Bowles, who is a really good lawyer, but he's also really low energy. So he kind of comes across like he's not passionate or intense. And she probably needed a more fiery, intense, passionate person for her to think that she was getting you know, the right representation. How many times do you think this mother has told her daughter no one her life? I'm not sure. No one her life. I think there might be a missing word there that I'm not quite catching yet. I'm not quite catching the meaning yet.
Parents should make a statement to the press or something.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, Jason and I have been doing.
Right. No in her life. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can hear by the way the mother talks to her that she's very, she kind of sounds deferential to her, because like even when Hannah is saying, you know, mean things about people, she's like, it's not like, come on, take responsibility, girl. You know, suck it up. Now you just suck it up and move forward. Let's move forward with a, you know, new vision. Nope. It's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you for being a big girl and acting like an adult. I mean, that's basically giving participation trophies for learning how to adult. And you know, as hard as it might sound for children, when you grow up, you don't get rewards for adulting. That you're just expected to adult, okay? That's just the expectation. Maybe mommy and daddy can praise you to keep you going in that adulting, so that they make sure to motivate you to keep adulting. But the outside world is not going to praise you just for being an adult. That's the actual expectation, okay? And you know, that's what happens when we lower our standards of expectations of human behavior.
Damage control. He actually did quite a few interviews about what's going on.
Oh, really?
So I'm glad. Yes. Which I was so thankful for. I'm like, Jason, you have to. You have to.
Well, I'm
We
like,
have
you
to
know,
speak
like,
up for her.
yeah, like the facts out there is like, you know, 10 days out of 12 had gunfire, 12 days out of 12 had guns on set. Gabby said I was supposed to focus on props when I wasn't being armor. Like, when would I have had the time? She lied. Like, those emails, she told me to focus on both. She told me to focus on props more.
I know.
Like,
and then I looked at her PTI that she gave for the court to Carrie, dude, and it's way off. Carrie's lying to her the entire pre-trial interview. Carrie's lying to her, telling her crazy, dude, crazy, lying
the whole time.
Yes, and Todd is sitting there, bro. Todd
just let it happen.
Yeah.
So wait, what's Carrie telling her?
Girl, just lying. She remember how Carrie in her closing statement said something about how incompetent you could have been because you tried to let a child go and blah, blah, blah. Gabby says in the interview that ALEC Baldwin and ALEC kept trying to bond with the child. And it was his idea. And everybody kept shooting it down, including Hannah and I, Gabrielle says.
Really? Yeah.
She said we had a discussion about this and Hannah was not for it. She did not want them to go do that. She's like, and then Carrie
in my
tells her.
text messages, I said that I'd be willing to train him if his family wanted. Just because
Yeah,
he wasn't allowed to
safely,
do it on-
yes, because he was being crazy. He kept grabbing on set, making things dangerous.
You know,
How
and
is that your problem? You brought
exactly
that
the same
problem
thing.
to the attention.
Exactly.
You brought it
and
to their attention. Hey, listen, this kid is making things dangerous.
Yeah, I said it out loud. I said, who let the child get the gun? Like, what the It was just sitting there on the ground, and Dave and everybody was around.
Oh, isn't that interesting? I mean, did we hear about this? Did we hear about this? That the child on the set actually got a hold of the gun? This may have come out before. I don't think it came out in trial. Oh, they're back. Hello, Sharon. Welcome. Sounds like they're back in court. Oh, maybe it was a false alarm. I don't know. Nope, they're back. Let's see if they figured things out. It's been a fairly uneventful morning, Sharon. I think, and anybody else who might be joining, these lawyers have been really battling with each other behind the scenes a lot for quite some time. And the pretrial hearing that happened on Monday, that happened on Monday was extremely contentious and ended with a very, very big claim of prosecutorial misconduct. And I feel like that is the underlying thread through all of these things. So what happened this morning, Sharon, is they had this woman on the stand for cross-examination. She had her full direct examination yesterday. They put her on the stand for cross-examination. Mr. Spiro started to cross-examine her, and as he's asking questions, he keeps, getting objected to, and they call 2 or 3 different sidebars, and finally they called a break after a sidebar, and you could tell that they were probably going to go duke it out in chambers. And that took a good, I don't know, we were at break for a good 20 minutes or something like that, maybe even longer. So, and it's quite clear that Mr. Spiro is out of his element, not comfortable in the courtroom setting. He's a good writer, a good orator.
Maybe seated.
All right, witness is back on stand. Let's see if they were able to iron anything out.
Still good morning. We are, okay. Good morning again. So I'm just going to, we're going to tech issue, or this is on there. Okay.
And
we left off.
I need to make some sort of technology custom emoji.
I'm just telling him he's going to publish it.
Right.
Well, you have to do for admission.
Okay. So I'm now moving for admission for A3 and A11.
I think he needs to, I'm sorry, I think he needs to go ahead and lay the foundation.
I'm going to lay for the
He's like,
foundation.
oh, I want to admit an exhibit.
As you stated on
but he
direct,
hasn't
we're just
even
going to put up states 21.
laid the foundation for the exhibit.
If I could publish that, it's in evidence.
Very rocky, very sloppy, jagged, hard to follow. and that's the risk of bringing in high-priced lawyers from another state who don't know the courtroom procedures.
As you testified yesterday, you collected items from the church that you thought were relevant to this case, correct?
Yes.
And some of the things that you thought gave insight into what happened, correct?
Yes.
And including in those was a copy of the script and the shot list, correct?
I believe there was paperwork that was photographed, but I don't believe it was collected.
Okay, well, I'm going to pass up to the witness what is marked as A3 and A11. Do you recognize these?
Yes.
And what are those?
It appears to be scene paperwork.
That you collected?
Yes.
And those are fair and accurate photographs?
Yes.
Okay, offer them as evidence.
I don't believe that's an adequate foundation.
What more do you want him to do?
But what we discussed at the bench, but I mean, obviously I defer to the court, but I'm relying on the conversation we had.
Well, all right, so they are conditionally admitted pursuant to the discussion up at the bench.
So I'm going to now publish A3. And can you read that last sentence?
Russ Colt cocked quietly now.
And I'm now going to publish 811. Let's see if this will allow me to zoom in focus. Can you read that, or does it not focus right?
I cannot read that.
Okay, I apologize. I'm going to pass it up to the witness. If it's not, oh, it works like this, I guess. I don't know if it does it. It's supposed to focus on its own. It's supposed to autofocus, so this is not my fault, just so you know, investigate. Okay, permission to approach.
Macro on hammer as thumb cocks it. And then line 6 is frontal slow push in on Rust, his hat down, motionless.
Thank you. And you found and photographed these documents in the church in the vicinity of where Ms. Hutchins fell, correct?
I believe the first photograph, the first paper was, I don't recall where the second paper was located.
And if we look at states 21, I'll have that up on the screen just for a moment. When you collected these documents, you thought they were important, correct?
When I photographed them, yes.
So sorry, I apologize. When you photographed them. And the reason you thought it was important is because you thought it reflected what would have happened in the scene, correct?
I understood that there was a mentioning of a firearm in the paperwork, which is why I thought it was important.
Right, because it's actually just because you thought to yourself at the time and that it actually described what he's doing, right?
I believe at the time, yes.
And you said to your fellow officers that you think it's important because it confirms Mr. Baldwin's statements, correct?
I don't recall stating that, but it could be something that I've stated.
I don't know how a jury is going to be able to follow this and put all this together with all these stops and starts.
And you indicated that you thought it was hers, meaning Ms. Hutchins' paperwork, correct?
I believe that one of those papers does have her name on it, which is why I thought it was hers.
Right. And the other paper that you already testified to, A3, was found around where she fell, correct?
Yes.
And it contains the shot list and the script for that day, correct?
I don't know exactly.
Sorry.
So you have
Did
laid the
you-
foundation?
Yeah, did you believe at the time that what you were looking at may have reflected things that were supposed to occur in the church?
Yes.
You also recovered Miss Hutchins' cell phone, correct?
At a later date, I believe.
And that was sent to Byron French and the investigation division to extract the cell phone results eventually, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Now, you tried to find video recording in the church, correct?
Yes.
But the video cameras for the scene in question did not record that day, so you were not able to find
I'm sorry, I need
Fair?
to go back just a second.
them. Now, you tried to find video recording in the church, correct?
Yes.
But the video cameras for the scene in question did not.
At a later date, I believe.
And that was sent to.
So you have laid the foundation?
Yeah, did you believe at the time that what you were looking at may have reflected things that were supposed to occur in the church?
Yes.
You also recovered Miss Hutchins' cell phone, correct?
At a
Okay, no, I was wrong.
Oh, right, the bandolier that we were talking about before?
Yes.
Okay. And you have no reason to think that Mr. Baldwin had any idea that was there, right?
Correct.
At that scene, and at this time in the investigation, Detective Kano was in charge, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
So while you're now then leaving the church, and we're going to move on, okay, you have to figure out how ammunition works on a movie set, right?
Yes.
That wasn't something that you were familiar with before the incident in question, right?
Correct.
And you sort of became the subject matter expert on that topic, right?
Yes, I'd say so.
Right. I mean, you were
For the
called
sheriff's
into,
office.
for the sheriff's office, right? But also you'd be called into meetings with Corporal Hancock and the prosecutors and try to educate them on those topics. Isn't that fair?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you weren't running the case, were you?
No.
But you were there to assist not only with the evidence, but to be a specialist on this sort of unique topic. Fair?
Yes.
And again, you said this on direct, but I think it got a little confusing perhaps. But there are never supposed to be live ammunition on a movie set.
You need to record that. I think, what are we thinking? Do you think that was picking up?
Yikes. Technology.
Okay, go ahead. Yours is on though, right?
Yes, it is on.
Okay.
Thank you. You understood that there should never be live ammunition on a movie set, right?
Yes.
And the one type of ammunition that occurs on movie sets is blanks, and those are the ones that just go poof, right?
Correct.
Okay, and I'm just showing you 812. That's in evidence, right? And those have a like a crimped top, right?
Yes.
Okay, as opposed to dummy rounds, right? I'm showing you 811. That's in evidence, right? Which look like real bullets, right?
Correct.
And there were different types of dummy rounds, as I think you said on direct. But you can't tell necessarily that a dummy round is a dummy round just by looking at it.
Not always, no.
Some dummy rounds have holes in them, right?
Yes.
Others have their primers removed.
Yes.
Some of them do not have holes in the side or their primers removed.
Correct.
Some of them don't make a noise when they're shaken, called Denex rounds.
Yes.
And some dummy rounds look exactly like live rounds, correct?
Yes.
And those look exactly like live ammunition, fair?
Yes.
And those type of exact replica dummy rounds were on the set of Rust, right?
Yes.
And those were Seth Kenny's dummy rounds, right?
Yes.
And in terms of identifying dummy rounds by shaking them, right, which is something you talked about on direct, some of them are louder than others, right?
Yes.
Some of them have 1 BB or 2 BBs in them or 3 BBs in them, right?
Yes.
Sometimes if you shake a bullet, you can hear the powder, or because of oxidation, you can hear things inside of a bullet when you shake it, right?
Yes.
And depending on the setting of something would impact the person's ability to hear it. Isn't that fair?
Yes.
So, right, if I shook a dummy round right now in a courtroom in front of a microphone, right, it would probably be, you would be able to hear it. Would you agree?
Yes.
But if people are all moving around in a movie set, you don't know that everybody would be able to hear it. Isn't that fair?
Not everyone, no.
And some dummy rounds don't shake at all. Isn't that also true?
Yes.
The only way to determine definitively is to send them to the FBI and to take apart the dummy round to figure out what the powder is inside of it, right?
The powder inside of a dummy round?
Yeah, I'm
Or the
moving
ball
on.
bearings?
Well, the ball bearings versus the powder that could be in a live ammunition.
Yes,
right?
that would be the comparison, yes.
And so one of the questions that I'm going to ask you is there different grades of gunpowder used in blanks versus live rounds?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay. And so as you proceed in this case, you are then executing the prop truck search at the scene of Rust, right?
Yes.
So about a week after the incident, approximately, you go back to the setting of Rust and you execute a search warrant on the truck that housed the prop cart that you found the shell casing on, right?
Yes.
And when you went to do that search warrant, it was light outside, right?
Correct.
And you were with your fellow officers, Hancock, Kano, Sergeant Zook was there, correct?
Yes.
And you had a good working relationship with all of these people, right?
Yes.
And Detective Hancock and Kano, signed off on what you collected as detectives involved in this, right?
Yes.
And Sergeant Zook, who was their supervisor, signed off as well. Fair?
Yes.
And there was a witness there that day that assisted law enforcement with the search of the prop truck, right?
Yes.
A man named Seth Kenny.
Correct.
And not only did he assist, he actually was the one that opened the safe, right?
Yes, he had the combination too.
Well, do you know how he got the combination?
He was the owner of the safe.
You sure about that?
That was my understanding.
You collected dozens of guns from the safe, right?
Yes.
And you understood that there were a dozen plus actors, extras, stuntmen that used firearms on the set of Rust?
Yes.
Just like we talked about with Mr. Ackles and his bandolier, right? A lot of these actors may have at one point or another, unbeknownst to them, God forbid, had live ammunition on them, right?
Yes.
And the prop truck, we can look at A13, was a little disorganized. I don't know if it's quite at the level of the cart, but it was a little disorganized, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll just show A14 for completeness. And inside the prop truck, there were boxes, right?
Yes.
Boxes of ammunition.
Correct.
And these boxes are sort of, a lot of them are the same shape, make, model, white box, right?
Yes.
And I'm just going to show you 816, which is a close-up. And do you notice one box that looks a little different than the other boxes?
Yes, there is.
And which box is that?
The box in the center, instead of it being stamped, it has handwritten in blue marker, dummy rounds 45 LC.
Right, and I'll just blow up that, which is in State's Exhibits, Exhibit 19, right?
Yes.
And you don't know who wrote that writing on it, do you?
Seth Kenny.
And if we could look at A22, can you tell us what that is?
Out of context, no, I can't.
Okay, well then we're going to look at A23.
Can you move it up? Thank you. Sure. Okay. This is the rounds that were inside of that box with the styrofoam insert that were removed.
Okay, and you see that they are Starline brass, nickel dummy rounds, right?
Yes.
And again, the difference between a Starline brass nickel-plated dummy round and a live round is effectively that one has powder inside and the other does not, right?
Yes.
And do you know where all the ones in this box went, the ones that are missing?
I do not.
So we're in the prop truck and you have Starline brass, you have nickel primer, but they're not live, right?
Correct.
And you don't know when that box ended up getting to the prop truck, moved to the prop truck. You don't know any of that background, right?
Right.
You don't know if somebody placed that box with the handwriting on it into that Mary Kay bag, do you?
No.
And on the prop truck that housed all the ammunition, was there any live ammunition on the prop truck?
No.
So I want to ask you something, Investigator Popple. Did that surprise you?
No, not necessarily.
Well, you've got all this, you're finding these live rounds all over the set, right?
Yes.
Sort of seem to be a little bit of everywhere without much cohesion between where you're finding them, right?
Yes.
And they're housed originally in the prop truck, right?
Yes.
And so you go a week later to the prop truck, which has all the ammunition, right?
Yes.
And there's not a single live round there, right?
Correct.
Why did law enforcement wait a week to go to the prop truck?
The search warrant needed to be written. I'm not sure of why the time difference occurred exactly.
Okay. You, well, I mean, the search warrant for the church that we talked about on the 21st, you guys were able to do in one day, right? The same day that the incident happened, you did the search warrant on the church, right?
We did it the next day.
Well, you got the warrant on the 21st, you did it the 22nd. Is
Correct.
that fair?
Yes.
I apologize. So if you could do a search warrant in one day for one thing, why does it take 7 days to do a search warrant for something else?
I do not know the circumstances of why there was that time frame.
And so on direct examination, you pointed out that, and this is States 30, you said that these were the Seth Kenny dummies in the box, right?
Yes.
And you talked about that a bit on direct examination, right?
Correct.
And I think you were making a point that Seth Kenny's dummies look a little bit different than the live ammunition found on set. So perhaps there was a way to distinguish them. Was that the import of your testimony?
Yes.
But if you look at the picture of the Seth Kenny box as it's being opened, right? How many rounds are in there?
So there are 17.
So then how do you explain why there's more rounds in your picture of those dummies taken out of the box?
If I can refer to my report to refresh my memory.
It's fine with me, right?
Yeah.
It is right. And do you have an explanation for that?
Yes, so I apologize. The photo that was just up of the 22 rounds were actually removed from a bandolier that was located inside of the prop truck.
Defense A26, right?
Yes.
And it has the exact number as the picture you showed the jury, right?
Yes.
Okay. And in fact, the real picture of the ammunition that comes out of Seth Kenny's box is this one, A27, right?
Yes.
And I saw you counting.
I just wanted to make sure the number of rounds.
Fair enough. No, I think that's a good way to that's how I figured about it. That's from the right one, though, right?
Yes.
And there's something important about this picture, isn't there?
Yes.
Doesn't that Seth Kenny round look exactly like the live round?
Under a camera flash, I suppose it could.
Well, I don't know about suppose it could. I mean, we'll look at the shell casing, Exhibit 28. And we'll go back. A27. We can go back. States 28. Don't you think they look an awful lot alike?
They look similar, yes, but I can still see differences.
Well, I mean, you're a trained investigator, right?
I'm trained crime scene tech, yes.
Even more than an investigator or crime scene tech, right?
Correct.
You have your Nikon 700 flash in your camera, right?
Yes.
You have the opportunity to take this ammunition back to the precinct, lay it out, and photograph it, right?
Yes.
You have no reason to think anybody on the set of Rust was able to do that, do you?
No.
You turned in your report. In this investigation, Hancock signed off on it, correct?
My supervisor signed off on my report.
Sergeant Zook?
At the time, yes.
So we're still on the topic of the ammunition, and you and law enforcement were trying to figure out the source of the live ammunition, correct?
Yes.
In fact, it was incumbent upon you to try to find the source, because if there were people sending live ammunition to movie sets, that would be very dangerous condition, wouldn't it be?
Yes.
And as you were going about your search, Seth Kenny actually walked into the precinct one day and gave you ammunition, right?
Yes.
Okay, you remember that, right?
I do.
That was Did you think Mr. Kenny was being helpful?
I believe so, yes.
I mean, were you suspicious at all of that?
That was not my place to be suspicious of him. I hadn't had much interaction with him.
Yeah, I mean, it may not have been your place to, but I'm just asking you if after this point, Seth Kenny, comes knocking on the precinct and shows you all some rounds, whether or not that
Asked and answered.
I don't believe it was.
Overruled.
I'm just asking whether it's your place to be or not. I'm just asking when the man showed up and just presented ammunition to the precinct, did that make you suspicious at all?
No.
Well, let me ask you this. I bet it didn't surprise you that he didn't turn in the exact matching lethal ammunition, did it?
No, I wasn't surprised by that.
Okay. And so what he turned in, and now you have your report there if you need to refresh, but he walks into the precinct, and this is Seth Kenny. All right. And he gives you two different
Is he
types
trying to introduce
of,
a conspiracy?
shell casings or ammunition, right? He gives you Starline brass, he gives you spent shell casings, right?
Yes.
And those were Starline brass, nickel primer, but they weren't live, right? They had been shot and they were spent shell casings, right?
If I can refer to my report to refresh. I don't recall if any of them were Starline brass.
If you turn to the last page.
Is there a specific item number that you're referring to?
Item, set, I think 215. You're going to be better at determining these reports than me.
Yes.
Okay. And he brought you, again, he also gave you live ammunition with nickel primers, but they weren't Starlight brass, right?
Yes.
Okay. So he just seems to have, he just missed sort of on what you were looking for, right?
Yes.
Because you were.
Yeah, objection to the former question. She doesn't know what Seth Kinney's motives are.
No, I don't, I don't,
He's
overruled.
It's overruled because she already answered. She needs to wait for the witness needs to wait for the objection ruling.
I mean, you know that if Seth Kenney provided the live ammunition to the set, that's worse for Seth Kenney, right?
It's worse for whoever provided it. Yes.
I agree. So, but as members of law enforcement, you all know that the person who provided that would have a motive to not be found, true?
Yes.
So you headed to execute a search warrant at Seth Kenney's prop house, right?
Yes.
And a judge signed off on that search warrant, correct?
Yes.
Because you had probable cause to believe that there was live ammunition that matched the ammunition that killed Miss Hutchins, right?
Yes.
And this was you and again, Detective Hancock and Sergeant Zook, right?
Yes.
And yeah, I wanted to ask you, how come you executed the search warrant at night?
I don't recall.
And I wanted to ask you, how come Detective Kano waits outside?
I don't believe that Detective Kano was there the entirety of the search warrant.
So, well, while he was there, you know, do you know why? Do you have any information as to why he didn't come inside?
I do not.
Before you went on the search, you discussed it with Detective Hancock, correct?
Yes.
And just like the truck we talked about, you all had done nothing to secure this prop house while before you got the search warrant, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And tell the jury, how long did you wait to execute the search warrant at the prop house?
I don't recall.
Well, on direct examination, you knew the dates right away. Don't you remember? You nailed it.
Oh,
10/27, November 30th. Right?
I apologize. I thought you were asking from when it was written to when it was executed.
Oh, no, I apologize. Yes.
We executed the search warrant on November 30th.
Okay, so that was a month and a week, at least, right, after the incident in question.
Yes.
Okay. And just like the truck, you're executing the search warrant, and who was there to help you?
Seth Kenney.
And your purpose was to find the matching ammunition, correct?
Our purpose was to locate any .45 caliber live ammunition.
Well, sure, but the ultimate investigation that you all were conducting was to try to solve the open question of how the lethal round got on the movie set, right?
Yes.
And you talked a little bit about this when we talked about the prop cart, how the disorganization of it could lead to commingling, right?
Yes.
How was the organization of the prop house?
Some things were organized and some were not.
Well, if you could give us a sense, did you find it to be more organized than the cart or less organized than the cart?
I would say they were probably about equal.
And you knew, did you not?
Well, that's scary.
That a dummy round can be turned into a live round, and a live round can be turned into a dummy round, correct?
Yes.
So a person with spent shell casings or dummies, they could reuse them, correct?
Yes.
That would be economically efficient, right?
Yes.
And you knew as you enter this search that some of the ammunition on the set of Rust definitely came from Seth Kenney, right?
Yes.
He admitted that, right?
Correct.
There were invoices he didn't have much of a choice, correct?
Yes.
And you were also looking for tools that could be used to manufacture dummies and live ammunition, correct?
Yes.
And you were also looking for a green ammo can, correct?
Yes.
You know, the white boxes that we keep looking at are, they look like each other, right?
Correct.
A green ammo can is a more unique item, fair?
Yes.
So why don't you tell the jury why you were looking for a green ammo can?
I don't recall specifically, other than at some point in time it had housed live rounds.
And law enforcement had that information at the time of going to a judge to get the search warrant, and very much at the time that they were executing the warrant, right?
Yes.
And I don't want to belabor the white box conversation too much, but other than, I'm going to have to find it too, on the white boxes that you found at the set, and at the white boxes that you saw a lot of at Seth Kenny's, there were these initials in the middle of the white box that said JS. Right? I'll just show you A2. Yeah. Right, that you found at the scene, correct?
Yes.
And if we look inside of Seth Kenny's prop house, A18, you see very similar font and signage, correct?
Yes.
And as you continue on in your search, you understood Seth Kenny was a person of interest, correct?
Yes.
And this was an important moment in the case, correct?
Yes.
And you even found out that the day before Seth Kenny provided the dummies to Rust, he had in his possession live Starline brass nickel primer from 1883, correct?
I don't recall it being the day before, having that information personally.
Well, so let's leave the day before right now. You knew and understood that Seth Kenny had recently been in possession of Starline brass nickel primer live, correct?
I don't know that it was that specific, just that he was in possession of live ammunition in a recent point.
Now, when you testified on direct examination, you told the jury about how you found some live ammo at the prop house, right?
Yes.
And how you took that live ammo and sent it to the FBI, right?
Yes.
And you sent the live ammo from the set of Rust to the FBI, right?
Yes.
And you're not an FBI agent, but what you told the jury was that when you compared the powder from the set of Rust's ammunition to Seth Kenny's live ammunition, they didn't look the same, right?
Correct.
And you testified previously. Well, let me just ask you. Did you take all of the 45 live ammunition from PDQ into evidence?
Yes.
And did you search every single box inside of Seth Kenny's prop house?
Yes.
And because you did that, according, is this still, what just happened? Did I do something? No. Oh, it just goes to sleep. Talking too much. And because you've told this jury now that you found every 45 live ammo there, correct?
Yes.
And that you searched every single box, correct?
Yes.
What you're telling this jury is they can be sure that if there was a live round on there that matched the set of Rust, you would have found it, right?
Yes.
Let's take a look at A19. You see those boxes packed all the way to the ceiling?
Yes.
Did you all have a ladder or anything when you guys were searching?
No.
Okay. So can we agree that you didn't search the boxes at the top?
I believe they were taken down or at least looked into. It was not just myself searching.
Right, well, we talked about it. It was Kana was outside. It was you and Hancock and Zook, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, tell the jury. I mean, did you or did you not search every single one of those boxes?
We searched the entirety of the property. Yes.
Well, what do you mean when you say that you searched the entirety of the property?
I mean, if a box is opened and it is clear that there's no ammunition in it, meaning if I open a box and it's all clothing and I look at the bottom of the box and it's all clothing, then we're not going to dump the box out on the floor and continue to shake it until rounds that aren't in there fall out.
But okay, sure. Were there any boxes like that?
There were a multitude of boxes.
Got it. So, are you telling this jury that you're on your oath that you searched every single box in this room? That's just all I want to know.
Not me personally. Our team reasonably searched the warehouse.
Okay, and I think we're getting closer to, when you say reasonably searched, what do you mean by that?
I mean, how would you approach searching this kind of area?
Well, I can tell you that law enforcement, I know from the movies. Okay, I'll move on. Well, why don't you tell me, what's a grid search?
A grid search is usually conducted outside, where you would reasonably set up in a way that you could grid an area and then search each section on that grid.
Okay, and well, why don't you tell me, what would have been, if you wanted to be certain, the best way to search this room if you had unlimited resources and time?
I believe that when we searched this room, we divided the room in order for it to be searched.
Divided it how?
Meaning myself took one section, Sergeant Zook took another section, Detective Hancock took another section.
Are you certain of that, or are you best estimate that that's what your memory tells you?
I do not recall exactly how the room was searched.
Okay, and then let's say you open up a box with ammunition. How would you search an individual box?
It would depend on the box.
So tell me.
If we open a box and it's all 38s, we're not looking for 38s at that time, we're looking for 45s.
Okay. And so if you opened up a box and it was commingled rounds, how would you do it?
We would have to go through those rounds individually.
Right, and there were boxes like that here, right?
There were a few, yes.
Okay. And how many rooms were there inside of this location that had lots of boxes in them?
There was the back room that we see here. There was a front room that didn't have many boxes, and then a side room that had nicely organized boxes.
And what about the bathroom? Like the boxes and ammunition bathroom?
There were boxes in the bathroom, yes.
So 4 rooms, right?
Yes.
3 of you, 4 rooms, right?
Yes.
820. What are we looking at here, Investigator Cobble?
This was a table that was located in the side room.
Okay, and what do you notice? I don't know why that arrow's there. What do you notice on this? It's probably because of me. What do you notice on this table of, here, thank you, sir. What's on this table? What is this?
There were plastic bags, tools, cleaning products, tape.
Okay, and as we talked about before, the search warrant told you to look for tools, right?
Yes.
Okay, and Detective Hancock spent some time in this room during the search, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And do you know what all these tools are? Are you familiarity with these tools?
I'm not, no.
Okay, you don't know what they can be done. You don't know how they can be used with either firearms or ammunition, do you?
No.
Okay, so tell the members of the jury which of these tools you seized.
We do not take any tools from the warehouse.
When you were searching this area, did you have a schematic or a floor plan?
No, I don't believe so.
Did you go one room at a time, or did you split up?
I don't recall.
Was there a predetermined plan of how to search this and to confirm that there were no further live bullets?
The predetermined plan was that I went in myself first and did overall photographs of everything in place, and then we conducted the search.
Did you do those letters like we saw in the prop truck so you could keep track of everything? Remember when we were looking in the church that there were those letters up so that you could sort of keep track and make sure you got everything? Did you use those letters?
No, I did not.
And of course, Seth Kenny was there and being helpful again, right?
Yes.
He told you that there were no 45 long Colts there and offered to show you the dummy rounds at one point. Do you remember that?
I don't recall that.
Do you remember him saying, I bet you $1,000 there's no 45 long Colts in there?
I do recall that, yes.
Okay. And did he win the bet?
He did not.
He lost the bet. So he tells you that, and law enforcement continues, and you look in the bathroom, and you found them, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you something. At any point, did you become suspicious of Seth Kenny?
No.
A21. You were able
That's
to find
misleading. It's not her job
this
to be suspicious or not.
container that says live ammo on it, right?
Yes.
And that was helpful to whoever wrote that to show you where the live ammo was, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the reasons you looked in that bin. Somebody labeled it live, right?
Well, we were looking in all of those bins, yes.
Every single.
I believe there was camera equipment stacked on top of it.
Right, and
when they're opened and you see that it's camera equipment, we close it back up and went to the box on the bottom that stated there was live ammo in it.
doesn't this handwriting and label look kind of like that dummy round label we saw on the box that had that round you and I looked at? States 19.
Yes, it is similar, yes.
And that box that had the live rounds in it, there were a couple things that you found in PDQ. This handwriting is getting worse. Right? At PDQ, you found, and that's the prop house. That's the name of the prop house, right?
Yes.
Okay. You found, bless you, Starline Brass Live, no nickel, and you found Starline, you found nickel primer lives, no Starline Brass, right?
Correct.
Every time you were with Seth Kenny, you got close to finding something that matched the scene, Starline Brass, nickel primer live, but it was always one off, wasn't it?
Yes.
And as you continued on your search, you found the green ammo can, right?
Yes.
And again, it was helpfully labeled, right?
Yes, I believe it was behind that box. I think you weren't able to obviously see it.
I see. But it also had a helpful label on it, didn't it?
Yes.
It said empty, right?
Yes.
And it looks a lot like the handwriting in States 19 and the helpful handwriting in A21 that says live, right?
Yes.
And it was taking a long time to go through those boxes, wasn't it?
Yes.
And Detective Hancock was wearing her lapel camera, right?
I believe so, yes.
Have you reviewed that camera?
I have not.
You remember you and you said to Detective Hancock, this is taking a long time. We really need to spot that.
Objection relevance?
What's relevant?
Right.
The relevance
Does it
is
have
that
any
it's-
more tendency to?
Sure.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Okay. Did you and Detective Hancock start joking around that it was going to take too long to search every box?
I don't recall that.
Do you deny it?
No.
And there were times in this search where you pick up a box and you just shake the whole box, right?
I don't recall that.
Can we play that video?
I'm confused. Is he refreshing or is he impeaching?
It doesn't matter. It's just a video. It's not a statement.
No, it does matter because she said she doesn't recall.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you deny in parts of your search, just picking up a box and shaking it to see if it shook or not? Do you deny that?
No.
And so, but if
If
you
he
shook
denied it, he
an
could
entire
introduce
box to
new.
see if it had a rattle in it, you wouldn't be able to be sure.
Just in case you don't know, so you cannot introduce new evidence unless you are impeaching a witness. There are some cases where you can, and one of them is where you're impeaching a witness on the stand. So if she were to deny that, she ever shook a box while during the search, he would have been able to introduce that evidence even though it's not already introduced. So that's part of the trial strategy.
Whether or not every single live round, it was all live rounds or a commingled group, correct?
Correct.
In fact, that's the entire basis of the case of what you believe the armorer to have done. Commingled, live, and dummies, right?
Yes.
And yet at the search being conducted to find the source of the lethal round, law enforcement is doing the very same thing that you're complaining about the armorer doing on the set, right?
Yes.
And when you left that search, you are not, as you sit here, sure you got every live round, are you?
No.
And actually, if you look at the boxes inside of that location, you didn't even search half of them. Did you?
I don't recall.
So then why on direct examination, if you do not recall, did the prosecutor ask you and you tell this jury that you were confirming that you searched and found every single live round? Why did you testify to that?
I found what I believe to be all the live rounds at the warehouse.
But that's not what you said. What you said was that you found every live round, right?
I don't recall the exact words that I stated.
Well, you certainly said that you searched every single box just 10 minutes ago in front of this jury, right?
I believe that a reasonable search was conducted of the warehouse.
This is his kaboom.
An investigator, I understand you were prepped before you testified today, correct?
I spoke with the prosecution before I testified yesterday.
Okay. And the jury heard something about pre-trial interviews where you're interviewed and the defense can be there to watch you be interviewed, right?
Yes.
But every time you talk to the prosecutors, defense is not there, correct?
Correct.
In fact, the vast majority of times you speak to the prosecutors, the defense is not there, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you and I had never met before today, or yesterday, I guess, correct?
Yes.
So, you just said, when you originally said that you searched every box, okay, that itself is not accurate, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So now what you're saying is that you did a reasonable search, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the other thing that the search warrant asked you to take was the cameras and the camera equipment, the surveillance footage from PDQ, right?
I don't recall that.
Okay, I'm going to pass up the warrant to refresh your recollection. Well, do you recall that there was camera equipment there?
There was lots of camera equipment inside of the warehouse.
In fact, you remember Seth Kenny showed you the camera equipment, right?
I don't recall exactly.
Okay, I'm just going to mark this as defense Z and just approach just quickly.
Patricia, they heard you. Your wish is their command. And he's looking weary. He's looking rough. I'm not going to lie. He's looking pretty rough.
Are you going to mark that? Well, she's going to identify it and then you're going to.
I'm just going to see the refresh.
Mr. Spyro, Attorney Spyro is definitely.
Does that refresh your recollection about the?
No. It doesn't.
Take it back. And I'm going to pass you the warrant and ask you, this is DX23,
That's funny, Bass, Gary Bass.
if this refreshes your recollection of if you were supposed to.
X23?
Yes.
What?
Yes, Your Honor, DX23. Oh.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I need to know.
If I was in that courtroom, I'd definitely have my adult
It's just
color
a refresh.
be
I
there.
can make it DX.
So,
any number.
but why are we marking it?
Yeah, why are we marking it?
Then I will mark it.
Yes.
Unmarked.
Yes.
Okay, not seeking to introduce this. I'm just simply asking, does this refresh your recollection that the warrant commanded you to take the video footage? Number 6.
She can refresh her memory without being directed.
Of surveillance footage, yes.
Okay. And so, and you tell the jury, did you take the surveillance footage?
No.
Well, that's kind of weird. That is kind of weird.
You didn't take the surveillance footage, even though that footage could have shown when people came and left the prop house, correct?
I don't recall if there was surveillance footage.
And the photograph of Mr. Kenny showing the surveillance footage didn't refresh your memory?
No, because I'm standing in the foreground of that photo.
Okay, well, tell the members of the jury what you did to search for surveillance videos that satisfied you that you had complied with the warrant's order. Tell the jury.
I don't recall looking for surveillance footage.
Okay, thank you for that answer. And because you didn't, right?
I don't recall.
But if you did, it would be on the lapel cameras of Detective Hancock and Sergeant Zook, right?
Yes.
And so if it's not on the lapel cameras of Detective Hancock and Sergeant Zook, you would agree with me it didn't happen, right?
Not precisely. They don't follow me around the entire time, and I don't wear a lapel, so it could have not been captured.
But you're not telling this jury that you looked for it, right?
I'm saying that I don't recall looking for it.
And if you had taken that footage, if any there were, right? You agree with me that it would have shown when people were coming and going from the prop house, potentially, correct?
That's a possibility, yes.
It's a possibility you could have seen when the ammo cam got there, right?
Possibly, yes.
You could have seen Sarah Zachary picking up the ammunition, correct?
Possibly, yes.
You could have seen Seth Kenny disposing of ammunition in the 40 days between when the incident happened and when you arrived, correct?
Possibly, yes.
And there's one other thing that it would have shown, isn't there?
I don't know.
Well, it would have shown whether or not you all really searched the place, wouldn't it have?
Possibly, yes.
And so you didn't take it. You did not voucher any of the surveillance footage.
I do not recall looking for the surveillance footage.
Well, again, I know that answer, but you know what you vouchered in this case, correct?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
You didn't take into your custody and add to the evidence any surveillance footage, correct?
No.
And you never spoke to any witnesses, you yourself, about what you found at PDQ later, did you?
No.
And you testified on direct examination that you did collect DNA, phones, prints, things like that in this case, right?
Yes.
And you got the armorer, the first assistant director, Dave Hall's, Sarah Zachary, and ALEC Baldwin's phones, right?
I did not. I don't believe so.
You ultimately vouchered?
I would have to refer to my report. I don't believe I collected all of those things.
Okay. What about DNA extractions?
I did collect DNA swabs from certain individuals, yes.
Okay. Including Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, Dave Halls, Sarah Zachary, Alec Baldwin?
Not Alec Baldwin, but the rest.
Okay. And what about prints, fingerprints?
Yes.
Okay. From Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, Dave Halls, Sarah Zachary?
Yes.
Okay. Did you take the cell phone of Seth Kenny?
I don't believe so, no.
Did you take the prints of Seth Kenny?
No.
Did you take the DNA of Seth Kenny?
No.
Everything that you did take into your custody, in law enforcement's custody in this case, is in your supplemental report. Is that fair?
Yes.
And most importantly of all, it's your testimony you never were able to discover the source of the live ammunition, correct?
I don't believe that's in my supplemental report. I'm not sure how you're phrasing that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. I'm asking you. When we started, we were talking about solving this question of how a live round got in a movie set. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm asking you, this trying to solve that question, did you ever solve it?
I do not have any physical evidence to show where the live rounds originated from.
And I was asking you questions earlier about how come the search happened at night, right?
Yes.
Do you remember?
I don't recall.
Okay. Why Detective Cano stood outside?
I don't recall.
Okay. Isn't the truth that you were just trying to get this over with so that the prosecutors could focus on ALEC Baldwin?
No.
They delayed it so they could get it over with? Come on.
You personally believe ALEC Baldwin committed no crime. Isn't that the truth?
No.
Your Honor, please, can we approach?
Oh boy. So witness
Don't do
needs
that.
to wait for a
I'm going to
ruling on
strike
an
that
objection.
question, okay? I'm going to strike the question. You're going to disregard it, okay, and the answer.
Let's hear the question again.
Don't do.
You personally believe ALEC Baldwin committed no crime. Isn't that the truth?
No.
Your Honor, please, can we approach?
Your Honor, please.
And after you all
So that resulted in this question getting completely
made the request to the FBI to
definitely doing
order
his job.
the accidental discharge test, right?
I don't recall when that request was made exactly.
Well, forget exactly when it was made. Do you have any general recollection?
I don't.
Okay. Are you testifying that you don't know whether it was after the PDQ search?
I don't recall.
Okay. And at that time, when that test was ordered, you knew that Mr. Baldwin had told you that he had just pulled the hammer of the gun and not the trigger, correct?
I don't recall.
Okay. I'm going to refresh your recollection. I need to find it. And while I'm doing that, you did assist in the taking of the firearm withdrawal. You were involved in the requests coming from the team, right? I'm referring to you, the prosecutors, Detective Hancock, right? You understand when I say team, what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. You were involved in the request from the team to the FBI about what tests to order throughout this case. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And these were very much group decisions that you made. Of what you would test, fair?
Yes.
And everywhere in this case that you went, Detective Hancock went, right?
Yes.
So when you were at the church, the day that it happened, Detective Hancock was there, right?
Yes.
And then, when you were at the truck search, she was there, right?
Yes.
In the precinct with Seth Kennedy, she was there, right?
Yes.
At the PDQ search, she was there, right?
Yes.
And every time something happened in this case, you all would meet with the prosecutors to keep them updated, correct?
Occasionally, yes.
Well, when you say occasionally, investigate a problem, what do you mean by occasionally?
I mean that I was not always in direct contact with them about every single thing that would occur.
I'm going to approach and show the witness. Yes, she has a copy.
Well, she doesn't know.
What you're looking at, I don't know what line you're looking at. You told me I have a copy of the previous transcript.
It is, again,
Page
it's
and line, please.
the body worn camera from 10/21/21.
Page and line, please.
Page 3. Line 1.
Ooh, page in line, please. Page in line.
Same
So she's
objection,
there
Your
to make
Honor.
him look stupid.
Ms. Popple is not Ms. Popple is not in this transcript.
Well, what are you doing? Asking her to refresh her
I'm
memory?
just, she was there, I'm asking if it refreshes her recollection.
All right. Overruled.
Does that refresh your recollection about what Mr. Baldwin told you at the scene?
Not particularly.
Okay. Would it be helpful if you saw the video from the lapel camera of you and Mr. Baldwin at the scene and listen to it? Would that be helpful?
No.
That wouldn't be helpful to you, Investigator Powell?
I'm not denying that these statements were made, but I do not recall all of the information that was being stated at that time.
I understand that, but you're here to do your best, right?
Yes.
And you want to be fair to Mr. Baldwin, right?
Yes.
So you don't know that if I show you the video of you at the scene, it won't refresh your recollection?
Look at Baldwin just glaring. He moved his chair so that he could see around the person in front of him so he could glare at her. And I think what's going on here is, yep, he's doing his job. You know, he needs to make every witness look like they've done something incompetent. And defense attorneys do this a lot. They will take a particular witness that's on the stand and ask them questions that have nothing to do with their role or their job in the case. And I feel that's like a little bit about what's going on here is he's asking her questions about her role outside of her role in the case where she wouldn't have the answers.
Investigator Popple, are you willing to watch the body-worn camera, the lapel, from 1021 to refresh your recollection at a break?
Yes.
Okay. And you would agree with me, it may refresh your recollection, true?
Yes.
Okay. And whatever information you had from Mr. Baldwin at the time, well, let me ask you this. Withdrawn. Did you tell Mr. Baldwin, don't worry, we're going to find the source of the live ammunition, or words to that effect?
I don't recall stating that.
You don't deny it, though, do you?
No.
You and the team end up ordering the accidental discharge test, I think you call it the drop test, on the firearm question, right?
Yes.
And when you all ordered that test, the FBI told you that this test may very well destroy the gun, right?
I don't recall that.
Okay, well, let's, I can't put anything on her screen, so I think you guys can do that. I'm going to show you an email in a minute. But you do agree with me that you were involved in the team's decision to send that firearm off to the FBI for that testing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That firearm that you told me earlier in my examination was something that you were entrusted to keep track of and to protect, right?
Yes.
A piece of evidence that you knew was critical in this case, correct?
Yes.
And the FBI told you in no uncertain terms that if they do this test on the firearm, it would alter the condition of the firearm, correct?
I don't recall that.
Okay. We're going to pass up an email to you because I can't show you on the screen, I don't think. You can? Okay. We can show you on the screen, apparently. As I understand.
Is there a reason you can't just walk up and just?
Well,
You can find it. Listen, you can look at it too, so just come up here before,
I have it, right? Okay, we have it.
they have it.
Are we good?
I'm just going to pass up.
Okay, but I need to look.
It's just,
No, there's a.
Man, listen to those lawyers going at each other. Oh gosh, they really don't like each other.
Hey,
Wait,
I have
she's
not
has to-
reviewed this. Okay, can I have a second?
Yes.
And Patricia, you may be right about them. Yeah. Where's Camille Vasquez or what was her name? Lindsay Blake in the Daybell and Dolly trials.
What's the portion that you expect to refresh your memory?
She's on the email.
Yeah, but
I think
what
it's
is
a
the portion
common
of the email
defense
that you expect
strategy.
to request to refresh your memory?
Do you all want to be on the recording for this? Let's just,
Point out to me how this is
well,
supposed to
first of all, just, if she can look at the whole document and see if it refreshes her memory, okay?
That's exactly what I was
Move on.
It's a common strategy to imply or
Did
say,
you see your email
look, they had tunnel vision,
address on that email?
but they charged 3 different people.
Yes, I do.
Well, let her, see if she can refresh her memory.
Of course, I just wanted to point out your email.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Terry, I agree. However, the fact that this was on a movie set means that there wasn't even supposed to be live rounds on the set. So that's why live rounds being on the set is an issue, and that's why Hannah Gutierrez is serving time right now, because it was her carelessness that allowed the ammunition to come onto the set, and then she actually put it in the gun. She's the one that put that so
Does that refresh your recollection?
those things
Yes.
matter.
Okay.
But also the guy pointing the gun and shooting it without checking
Thank you.
Thank you.
has to be looked at.
And it is true, right? You're on this email, correct?
Yes.
And on April 21st, 2022, which is after
Absolutely.
the search of the prop house, you and the team sent the firearm for testing at the FBI, correct?
Yes.
I apologize. I think I've been handed the wrong thing. Can we approach?
She can have my copy. I'll take yours then.
Hang on. We need to approach. May we approach?
Yes.
Oh boy, paperwork issues. That, you have to have a number of, just general office skills to be a lawyer. And one of them is organization and knowing where all your, especially in court. I remember when my ex-husband, he was only in 2 trials the entire time I was with him for over 15 years. But when he was in trial, the boxes and boxes of papers that they have to bring with them and keep organized and tab and, be able to access at any moment. And, they have to have some sort of index on paper, but also in their brain so that they can easily access it during court. All of those skills and work practices, they come from years of experience, starting at the bottom and going up to the top and getting to this place. And it's just frustrating when it's paperwork issues and organization issues and little rules issues that get in the way, Yeah, I agree, Solo. I actually think that's why I was actually surprised that he's a smoker. Maybe he just picked up smoking. I don't know. But that's why I was surprised he's a smoker, because he doesn't look like somebody who's been smoking a long time. He just doesn't. I mean, you know what I mean?
It's possible, Patricia. Yeah, if I was in that room, are
Sorry
you
for the
coloring with one
interruption.
today? If I
I'm
was
going
in
to ask
the
the
room,
court
I'd have
reporter to
my
read back the exact same question.
coloring books with me.
Please.
And on April 21st, 2022, which is after the search. Your microphone on. Oh, I'm so sorry. And on April 21st, 2022, which is after the search of the prop house, you and the team sent the firearm for testing at the FBI, correct? Yes.
And that was truthful testimony and accurate testimony that you just gave, correct?
Yes.
And at the time that you sent it to the FBI for accidental discharge testing, which I believe you discussed on your direct examination, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. So at the time you did that, you knew that the testing would cause this firearm.
Sorry.
I agree, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if Seth, in my opinion, I'm not sure if he's the most culpable, but he certainly has a role to play, and I'm not sure why he hasn't been looked at harder. Because clearly live ammunition got mixed with dummy ammunition. But there was...
At the time that this testing was ordered, you knew that the firearm would no longer be in the same physical condition you recovered it in, correct?
Yes.
Let's take a break. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take our lunch break. Please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court, and please don't come back until 2 o'clock. Okay? 2.
All rise to the jury. Jurors, please take your passes.
All right, we're in.
It sounds like the judge is going to take up some matters. So do not come back here for 2 hours, basically. Yeah, he's giving them like a 2-hour, 15-minute break.
Council approach.
Your Honor, as I indicated,
Housekeeping.
yeah, as I indicated, we're just gonna provide a laptop to investigate the break. Thank you.
Some of the, your excuse, thank you. See you at 2 o'clock. Do this housekeeping. Actually, you're probably going to do it. So, 1:45.
But are they going to take up matters? Are they going to air out any of this dirty laundry we've been seeing? Okay, I guess not. So now we're going to see Jesse Weber pop up on the screen, and I think I will take this off. All right. Yep, there was Jesse Weber. So what I was starting to say earlier is I think Seth Kenney should probably be looked at more than he has been. I don't know if he's the most culpable, but the other thing is, my recollection is that, they very much were able to specify that it was Hannah who brought the live rounds onto the set. It was Hannah who loaded them into the gun, right? And then it was ALEC who pointed and shot it. And it was Dave Halls who handed the gun to ALEC Baldwin. And Dave Halls has pled guilty. So that's off the table. He said, yep, guilty, culpable, negligent, shouldn't have done it, blah, right? Hannah has been found guilty of involuntary manslaughter because of her negligence. Seth Kenney, it really looked as though she asked Seth Kenney for those rounds for something else. And she's the one that got them mixed up in the transport from him to the set. because there's text messages of her asking him for live rounds specifically for something different. So I'm pretty sure it was established that even though, it's possible that live and dummy rounds were mixed up in Seth Kenny's warehouse, and that is extremely concerning and troubling. But it was probably not that specifically that contributed to Hannah then taking them to the set and putting them in the gun, and then Dave Hall's handing that gun and saying that it was safe while he handed it to and there's Steve. So anyway, they're on a long break. That was a rough morning, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. That was a rough morning for the lawyers, and I do think that Mr. Steve, come here. Steven, come here. Good boy. Come here. Everything is okay. Thank you for letting me know there's people outside. I know he sounds like a shepherd, Terry Bass, but he's just a golden doodle. He's a sweet, gentle golden doodle. I don't have a picture uploaded right now or I would show it to you, but he's a very, very sweet, gentle, timid dog in many ways. But he sounds like a shepherd. So I kind of like that. He's a good alarm. Anyway, so they're taking a long break. I will set this. Yeah, exactly, Terry. I'm going to end this stream and start back up when they start back up in a couple of hours. So you go off and either do some adult coloring or even children's coloring or play some games or watch some other streams or go on a run or do some yoga, whatever you all want to do. Eat. He does do amazing impressions. I'd be frustrated if I was a juror, Sharon, for sure. If for no other reason that it's so hard to follow. And also because you see all the pettiness between the lawyers and them wanting to throw shade at each other, So anyway, I will catch you all on the other side of the lunch. Have a wonderful time. See you soon. Bye. Please remember to hit the like button. Thank you.